Well, hey, what's going on, Mountain Men guys? Brian and I just want to take a second to talk about our gear box. You're going to get this, and really your co-leaders are going to be responsible for this, but it'd be kind of good if whoever wants to know about the items in this box, it's going to help us take better care of our gear. So because we know there's a lot of things to cover, we're not going to do a whole lot of intro here. We want to jump right into it. One of the things you're going to have is this. Brian, what is this?
Yeah, your checklist. You know, this is helpful. One, it's just an inventory if you're a new leader on what the heck we're providing you from a group gear standpoint. But two, it's going to be very helpful when you're inventorying gear back in.
Yeah.
And so for the Buffalo teams, it's going to be at this lunch stop before whitewater rafting. For Crestone and Humboldt teams, right when you get back to Amarillo, you're going to take all this inventory back in. So you're going to want to keep this checklist. It'll be on each of the boxes. We use it for stocking boxes, but you're going to need it for returning.
That's right. Everything that's in here needs to get back in here except the consumable things, like an empty fuel can can just be thrown away, but everything else needs to get back in here. Let's start with these. So these
Two
are
types.
Yeah, these are your emergency beacons. You'll only have one of these. We just have two different kinds. These merge with one of your both of your co-leaders' phone. These are just in case of emergency. They can also be used to communicate through the phone, like a text message. We hope we don't ever really have to use that, but that's what this is. It'll be fully charged, and really this is just the responsibility of the co-leader. You'll also have a couple of walkie-talkies. We provide a walkie-talkie for each vehicle so that we can have communication on the road, but this is also something that you'd probably, at least your co-leaders, you guys will throw this in your pack in case you have to separate as a group and can still maintain communication. And with that,
Anchor charging kit, you've got a cord in here, so you've got an adapter and you've got a chargeable, rechargeable battery. We charge this battery for you so it's ready to go, but if you're going to use it on the trip home, you're probably going to want to plug it into some sort of USB in your vehicle or something, so you have it ready for you on your trip back. This is something, leaders, you're going to want to put in your pack.
yes.
So just so if you need power out on the trail, your phone to connect to that GPS device, anything that
Or
you've got
the GPS device, or the walkie-talkies. It can charge any of those. However, you need to make sure with that, listen, co-leaders, you need to make sure with that you have, if you have an iPhone, you can plug the USB side of it into that Anchor charger, but the cord in the bag goes to the walkie-talkies and the emergency device. It won't go to your iPhone because it's a mini USB. So be sure and pull your cord out of your car if you want to charge your phone.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, every team's getting a tarp. Now, we want to be clear, for Buffalo, every team, you're going to want to bring this tarp. We're not having campsites that we're rolling over to you, so there's not going to be anything out there when you get there. We've got great campsites, but in case of rain, you're going to want this tarp. We're going to be able to have campfires at Buffalo, and this is a great place to huddle under. Maybe more important this year than ever for Crestone and Humboldt. We're going to have permanent campsites. We're going to be rolling those over to you, but you're still going to want to bring this tarp in your box and leave it in the truck. You're going to be communicating with other co-leaders on your trip and the trip before you on what the status of their tarp is. Is it still in good condition or not? If it's not, you'll want to carry this up with you. If it is, you can leave it in the box.
Right. And remember, that's just for Crestone and Humboldt teams. Buffalo teams, everybody will carry it. This just goes with that. This is your 75 feet of paracord to get your tarp set up, okay? All right, next.
How about Jetboils?
Yeah, let's talk Jetboils.
We've got a couple different sizes, a couple different brands.
Typically, you only have a large and a small. This is a particularly large group of LCS boys that this box is, so we're going to take three. I would set that one down, Brian. Typically, what you're going to have in your box is going to just be this right here, what's called a Sumo, the big one, that makes sense, and a Flash. All that we're going to do in these, this is important, especially if you're a first-time mountain men guy. All we do in these is boil water. We don't cook anything in these, so they'll never be dirty. They'll never have to be cleaned because all we're doing is boiling water.
Hey, take a second. This is a critical piece of gear. We lose 2 of these on average a year to being melted and ruined. And so, you know, hey, we're operating on thin margins. We would love your help in preserving these and using them the right way. They're simple, but if you've never used one, pay close attention here. Everything that you're going to need on the Jetboil except for the fuel canister is going to be self-contained here. And so the bottom of the Jetboil is where you're going to connect the internals. So that's just right here inside your Jetboil. This is really the burner with no fuel attached to it. This is going to connect. It's kind of got a male-female connection here to the bottom of your Jetboil, and you're set. Inside the lid, you've got a little stand here. Underneath that will connect to your fuel canister and give it a little more stability when you're setting it on the ground, so you'll want to pull that out. But Lee, talk about the fuel and how to turn this thing on and off.
Yeah, so both these are the same. The Sumo and the Flash are the same. It's just the Sumo is larger. First thing you're going to do is pop out this little wire valve, and then you're just going to carefully thread that fuel canister on to the stove. It sometimes makes a little sound right before it gets tight. You don't want to over tighten it. You just want to get it to where it's snug. All of our Jetboils have an igniter. That's a little button like you might have on your gas grill at home that sends a little spark. You're going to turn this until you hear that, and then you're going to light it. And you can see in there that it's lit. Now this one is a new one, so it worked right off the bat. Sometimes you have to turn it a few turns before you hear that sound of the gas.
We're showing you what to do. You would not turn this on ever, light it without water in here. And that's why Lee turned it off extremely quickly.
Yeah, because that's what melts the plastic and the neoprene sleeve. The neoprene sleeve helps it boil much faster because of the insulation. So you either are going to, really the best way to do it is to put the water in before you ever even do that. You're setting it on the ground. It's got a good base.
That's the support thing I was talking about that's in the lid.
And that just fits right on the bottom of this canister. Let me say this again. We're both looking at the camera. Yeah. Don't light this without water in it. Obviously, we weren't going to do that for this video. This needs water in it. It only takes about 45 seconds to start melting everything. I don't know what the physics are of that, but something about the water being in there nothing burns. But when it's dry, it just starts melting everything. Yeah. So don't light the Jetboils without water in the stove. Now, there are times when the igniter won't work. It might get wet or whatever. That's okay. That's easy to fix. You just take this off. It's just a twist on, and then you can take your lighter out of your stove or out of your fire starting kit. Go ahead and do that. When you hear it, just hit it with the lighter, and it'll start right up, and then you can screw it right back on.
Do not screw this back on without water in it.
That's right.
That will be lit. This is actually warm here.
Yeah, just from that 5 seconds.
But put water in this and set it back on there.
Yep, that's it. And really the operation of the Sumo and the Flash are exactly the same.
Yep.
Exactly the same operation. So carefully, just so we don't get cross-threading on these, so be careful when you screw it on and off. Then you can just fold that back in. It easily drops down to the inside. That, as Brian said, that pot stabilizer goes on the inside of the lid. We'd like to hold on to these. It keeps this stuff clean, and so you just put it back on there and twist it, and you're good to go. For both of those. Yep. So really the key to that, it's pretty simple to understand. Just don't melt the Jetboil because it doesn't have water in it. You'll get 3 full canisters, and there's a few teams will throw in a partial as well, just so you have enough. But you'll have 3 full canisters, Brian. That was on that one. Okay. Let's talk about this. So in the past, we've done 1 bag. This year, we're looking to do 2 bags. These are for water purification. Brian, why are we purifying water?
Yeah, we don't want to get sick. And even though we're at high elevation, that water's cold and looks extremely clear, there are still animals at the elevation we are at.
Yep.
And their waste is going to get into those water streams. They're eating and drinking around it. And it's honestly, we don't even want to go there with kind of how, I mean, you're talking about evacuating a guy or a team off the mountain if we were going to get sick like that. So we want to purify any and all water. There's 2 ways to do that. We can heavily boil the water, which doesn't make it immediately drinkable. But sometimes with cooking, that's how you're going to purify your water. But the best way you can do it is through a gravity filter, and that's just what this really is. And this is kind of the easiest way, less work on you.
Specifically around your drinking water and. For like Brian said, for cooking.
We've even been cooking just out of this. We don't even cook with the natural water there anymore. We used to years ago.
Just because it's easier.
We just run all water through here to be extra careful.
So we have 2 this year. They're a little bit smaller. These are more about between 5 and 6 liters. We used to do 10 liters. Now you've got 2. So
2 bags.
So what you're doing is you're just taking this down to the stream. This is just always a dirty bag, meaning it always is taking water right out of the stream. So you just go, try not to get rocks or anything in there. Just take off the top. Fill this as full as you can get it. And then it just rolls over and clips. And then you can actually just carry it by that clip if you want to. But I would say get it as full as you can.
And I would take both of them down and fill both of them up. Past
you're
years, we've had larger bags. So you got to have 2 smaller bags, and you're going to go through these bags several times.
All of our filtering systems have this quick draw attachment. So you just put it in there, it clicks in, and then when you want to take that off, which I don't usually take this down to the water with me, I just pull that off, hang it in the tree, and just take this, because we don't want this down. This is supposed to be clean, so you don't want this down in the water. But all of our filters this year are going to use what we call inline filters. That means it's not a filter that goes down inside the bag. It's a filter that goes on the end of the line, okay? Now, all these filters have an arrow showing the way the water should flow.
And they actually say in and out. It's going to be tough to see on the video, but on this gray plastic, here's out, here's in. You know, it's written on there. The color coding does that too, but you want to pay close attention to that.
That's right. So you're going to put it on this gray end. You just force it in there. Now, this is going to be hanging from the bag like that. All water that goes through this will be purified. You've got one already connected to both of your bags, and then you'll have an extra one of these should we have you know, it might storm or something. There might be a lot of snow runoff. Your water will still look clean, but it'll have sediment in it, and so that clogs these faster. And so, you know, use it as long as you can until it just turns into a trickle, and then swap it out with a brand new one. You'll have a backup for each one of these. Okay, that's pretty simple around that.
Bonus. Around water purification, really two other devices I'd love to talk about. This is simple. You've got two water bags here. These are intended to be clean water bags. And so what you can do is you can fill these with clean water and have them readily available. Some teams use these, some teams don't. They're just a bonus for you. These are not bags you want to put contaminated or natural water in. Keep these clean.
That's right.
And then last water purification option.
This is a backup, I think. So if our gravity filters, if our inline gravity filters, which are great because they don't require a lot of work, you fill the bag, you let gravity do its thing. If they should clog so bad that they're not working, this is a pump filter. A pump filter is very reliable. The filter doesn't have to be changed nearly as often, and it doesn't matter how clogged the filter gets. As long as you can keep pumping it, even if it's hard, you're still going to be getting clean water out of it. Okay, but it has two hoses. One that goes in the bottom that's going to go into the stream. Okay,
that's your flow into the water.
So this goes into the water, and then this one, you can pop this off. This fits Nalgene bottles, and it sometimes will fit smaller bottles. You can pop it off if you want to, but the bottom part into the water, the top part, which fits in the top here, goes into your bag or into your bottle, and then you're just pumping the water. And at first, it's easy. If the water quality is bad this year, it'll be harder. But every time you pump, you're getting purified water. A lot of teams will never take this out of the bag because the gravity filters work fine. But this is a backup so that we know nobody is drinking contaminated water.
Yep. Couple quick hits while we're putting this up. Everyone's getting bug spray and sunscreen. You know, self-explanatory, but every bag will have one of those. Every bag's gonna have sporks for all their team and Sierra cups. Some guys use those, some don't.
Yeah, you might have your own cup that you like or whatever. That's fine. You have this
leave
available.
them in the box.
Leave it in the box. Yeah.
Make them available to guys and check them back in.
Okay, your co-leaders will each have a first aid kit. That's just in case you have to separate or something. You've got if you
just highlight what's in here. We won't even open them up because it's pretty straightforward.
Pretty simple wound care. So different size Band-Aids.
Moleskin.
You've got some moleskin for blisters. You've got some Advil, Excedrin, and Tylenol for headaches. And a lot of guys have headaches with the altitude. You've got a pair of scissors.
Diarrhea relief.
You've got diarrhea medicine, and that hits some people. Tums for any stomach stuff. Basic stuff that you'd find in a first aid kit with a couple extras in there. There's some Leuco tape, which is it's like moleskin, but it sticks better and it's thinner. Really good for if you're feeling a hot spot.
Couple supplemental items that are not in the first aid kit, but that are important.
Yeah.
Tourniquet.
This is a tourniquet. Thankfully, a lot of these aren't even out of the packages because we never have to use it. We've never had an injury like that, but you do want one if somebody gets a pretty serious bleed. You need to have a tourniquet. It's just something that all first responders say, got to have that in your kit.
Self-explanatory, but there's also instructions on the tourniquet and on the SAM Splint. SAM Splint is really for broken bones or joint injuries. So you got a wrist, elbow, ankle, broken arm, broken leg. There's instructions actually printed on the SAM Splint on how to use this and how to wrap it. It's essentially moldable to your arm, but you're able to brace it and offer some stiffness. So if you've got a guy, let's say, that breaks his forearm, hey, you don't need to call necessarily a helicopter in, but we can get this SAM Splint on them and stabilize it and get them off the mountain.
That's
great.
And
then last thing, emergency
This is just an emergency bivvy. So co-leaders, you always need to have this in your pack, especially on summit day. Should somebody break an ankle, temperatures drop, and you don't have your sleeping bag, you don't have your tent, you need to put the injured person inside this so that they can stay warm. This is what you'd imagine. It's that reflective inside that first responders use, and so this is just something to stay warm. If you have to stay on the mountain after dark for any reason, waiting for help, all teams will have at least one of these. This is a new item this year, guys, and some of you may say, man, that's kind of a heavy item to have, but there's a reason why. This is a shovel, and it's not too, honestly, it's not too heavy for what it is. You just screw that on like that. Why are we doing that? Because there's been a lot more traffic in the mountains of Colorado the last few years, and I don't know if those of you that were on trips last year noticed toilet paper strewn where people were going to the bathroom. We are a group that does not do that. You should never see toilet paper after a mountain men guy gets done doing his business in the woods. If you don't know how to do that, talk to your co-leader. They can tell you. But essentially, you're going to use this tool. You can either use the pick side or the spade side. I'm kind of a pick side guy myself, and I just dig a trench with it, a deep trench. I do my business in there. I take a stick and I push the toilet paper down in it as much as I can, and then I make sure that is completely covered, and I look for a rock to put over it. But rather than just giving you a little trowel or telling you to use a stick, we're giving you a real tool that you can use. Everybody on your team, hey, one rule about this: don't put this in the poop. Right? Don't touch the poop with this. This is to dig out the hole, use a stick to push the toilet paper down in there. Then if you want to use this to dump dirt back on it, that's fine. But keep this out of your poop. Nobody wants that.
When we go number 2, when taking a dump, when you're done and all of your team are done, you shouldn't be able to tell you've been there.
Right.
And so, man, that's what we're after. I think this will help a lot of guys that have some uncertainty, or maybe turning over a rock, or not going to the extremes we need to go to cover our waste.
It might be at night, and you also might not be feeling very good. Listen, if you're sick and you're not feeling good and that happens, you need to tell a co-leader, hey, I left some stuff up there because we need to go cover that up. It needs to leave no trace that we were there. Two more things and we're done. This is for Buffalo trips only. This is your fire starting kit. You've got Firestarter here in these little white chunks. You light those, they burn for a while, and you've got at least one, sometimes two lighters in here. For our Crestone and Humboldt teams, you'll have a larger stove kit. It'll have an extra stove that you'll be using for pancakes with your frying pan. It'll have a spatula in it. We didn't bring that box down here, so but you'll have that. Buffalo teams, this is just for building fires, but you're not going to be doing pancakes on the trail, so you're not going to have a spatula or a frying pan. Okay.
Last thing for Buffalo only. We kind of saved the Buffalo ones for last. Since there's no fires, we're not going to be doing any firewood for Crestone and Humboldt. So you're not going to have to carry this saw. It's not even going to be in your box. But Buffalo, we're going to be able to have fires. We're going to want to collect firewood. We've had this historically in our boxes. This is a great version of a saw that's pretty durable. And so, boom, firewood's going to be simple this year for you guys. Hey, one note on fire for any new leaders: you're only cutting down dead trees. You're only cutting down dead limbs. You know, a live oak or live pine, that's not going to burn well. And we're not trying to destroy the forest out there.
We're trying to make the forest look better when we left than when we came. Live stuff doesn't burn anyway. So box is empty. As we said before, you've got your checklist to put it all back in when you come off the trail. Anything else we need to talk about on this?
I think we're set. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Love you.
Thanks, brothers.